Hello, my viewers. It's me, your girl, Sherrie Bunnie, with ASR, and introducing for the first time, Let's Chat. With me, I have a very special friend, a first-time guest. I'm going to give her a chance to give us her name and tell us what we're going to be talking about today.
Thank you, Sherrie. My name is Fraciah Kiunjuri, and I'm glad that I'm here. And I'm loving the show because this is a very important thing that we are going to be doing. We are doing it for the first time, and we are going to be doing for many other days. Yep. So stay tuned because so much is coming. So like I said, I'm Fraciah Kiunjuri, and my background is medicine, and I'm a counseling psychologist. And that's the reason why when I talk about mental health, which is the topic that we want to discuss going forward, it is a topic that is very close to my heart. Simply because I have experienced it as a person.
Yes.
And I have experienced clients. I have walked in the journey for quite a number of years now. I got some experience, and I'm glad that we are talking about this, Sherrie.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'm glad that you've joined us, our viewers from all over the world. Thank you for joining us. So today we are taking some notes. We're basically going to do the why, what, when, and how. So why mental health?
Oh, when you say mental health, we are talking about health. So let me begin by asking, what is health? When we say we are having a healthy nation, when we say we are having a healthy people, what are we talking about? When you are admitted in a hospital, could we say that you are healthy or you're not healthy? And then now we narrow down to mental health. Okay? So when we are talking about mental health, we are talking about how healthy are we? And let me begin by defining health according to WHO. And you're spiritually healthy without necessarily the absence of disease. So it doesn't mean that because you have malaria or you have whatever kind of disease, it doesn't mean that you're not healthy. It only means that you're having a small challenge, but that doesn't mean that you're not healthy. But we want to look at how mentally are we healthy so that we can say that this person is actually healthy. Yeah, so that's really about mental health.
All right, simple definition. So we ask why mental health, and then I want to ask you, what is mental health? What is, in layman's language, assume I don't know, I'm not in the healthcare, or anyone watching us is not in the healthcare, what is being mentally healthy?
Good. Now, let me begin by saying that I've talked about the four branches of an individual. We talked about the psychological, we talked about the mental, we talked about the physical, and we talked about the spiritual.
Yes.
Whenever the word mental is mentioned, what comes into your mind? The brain, right? Yes. And I want to let you know that the brain is the engine of the car. Look at somebody like a car. And this is the engine. So when the engine is not running, when the engine is not doing right, then it means that this car cannot move. So when we are talking about mental wellness, we are asking ourselves, how well do we look at things? How well do we reason? What is our emotion like? So it's such a pertinent issue that we need to talk about, because when you look at somebody walking on shoe leather, you think they are fine until you begin engaging that person and you're like, oh my God, who am I talking to? And sometimes we look at people and we begin to judge people and we begin to say that somebody is like this or the other, or they look like they are mad at people, they look like they are. But it's because people are not necessarily mental. They are not mentally healthy. So when I say it is such a topic that is so close to my heart, it's because we want to understand when you look like this, when you behave like this, when you look at your behavior, would we say that that person is mentally healthy? You understand?
Yes.
Yeah, so we want to look at all the branches of our mental health. So that we are looking at our personality, we are looking at how we behave, our behavior system, because it's so much. related with how we think and how we reason, you know, and we want to look at people as they grow up, because basically when we talk about somebody being mentor, we are looking at their environment.
Yes.
We are looking at the environment where they have grown,
Yes.
the environment where they are surviving, you know, and we want to tell people, has this environment changed that person? We also want to look at the genetic predisposition, you know, like for example, if you grew up in a home where we can say like, I want to an cheesy, you know, like this family is known for this or the other. We want to look, is there any genetic predisposition that has resulted to that person behaving in a certain way? We also want to look at the culture, you know. Right now we're in America and we're in a different culture. We came from a place where the culture was different. So we want to look at the culture and say, is this person okay based on the culture that they're living in and the culture where they have grown in? So it's such a big branch.
Very true.
And very many things that we can talk about. And that is why we are saying, let's chat. Because it's not something we can do in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Yes.
Correct. Now, how do you tell, or what is the, I know we cannot generalize because everyone is different, as you said, based on region, where they grew up, gender, current circumstances, everything is different. But what are those key things that we can look at and say that is a concern for mental health?
Good. So we want to look at the behavior.
Okay.
You know, at behavior of an individual. From how they do their thing, you know, from how they talk to other people, from how they interact with one another. You know, when we say somebody has built a social capital, we are saying that we are able to interact with people very well. But the question is, what is it that you can interact with me so comfortably? Like, we haven't met for such a long time, but we are really flowing.
Yes.
Well, there's another one we have met for many years and you're like, okay, I know that person, but I'm very hesitant to relate with them. So you want to ask yourself, is it me or is it them? So first thing, our behavior.
Okay.
Number two, our interactions. How we interact with people. Because like I mentioned, when we're talking about somebody being mentally healthy, you will not see it on their face.
Right.
You know, it's not like somebody is coughing or they are having some vomiting. And I say, you know, when COVID came, if you sneezed or coughed, everybody was like, oh my God, this person has COVID, you should be careful. But now with mental illness, you wouldn't know that somebody is fine until they begin talking. You know, you wouldn't know that somebody is fine or not fine until they begin behaving in a certain way and you're like, oh my God, are you sure that we are together with this person? You know? And then there, of course, now other things that we go deeper into when we talk about the illnesses, because now we have things like depression, we have things like schizophrenia, we have things like bipolar. Now we are talking about the diseases, which now we branch a little bit and call it psychiatric conditions. You know? And then now we have things like personality disorders. Then we'll have things like they're not necessarily personality disorders, but there are certain mannerisms and ways of doing things. When you look at them and you think this person is not normal. So in the recent past, people have been talking about disorders like narcissism. We are talking about it so much until people are thinking everyone is narcissistic. And then we will have you know, like statistics saying that 75% of men, 65% of women, children growing up in this kind of environment are like this or the other. So many branches, and we can begin talking about one and exhaust, and talk about another one and exhaust. So we are here.
So today we're doing an introduction. We're just going to hit one point here, one point there, one point there. But make sure you're tuning in to Let's Chat on YouTube, on ASR, and you'll get more information. Now, you have mentioned behavior, you have mentioned interaction. What is it at that, or when is it at that point that either the family member needs to take action, the individual needs to take action, the community needs to take action, somebody needs to take action to help the person get well or mentally well?
Get help. Let me begin by saying this, that when we are mentally ill, many times we will not know. We will actually not know. In fact, that person, they think they are doing the best. They think they are talking, the best way. They think that they're interacting the best way they can. And when we look, like every culture have their way of doing their thing.
Yeah.
For example, in our culture, when we meet you and I meet you for the first time, I'm likely to shake your hand.
Right.
If I don't shake your hand, I'm likely to give you a hug.
Yep. Yep.
I'm likely to give you a smile.
Yes.
But then you might be in a place, you might look at somebody and you say, this person is not going according to the culture in which they are in.
Yes.
Now, if you meet a white man, for example, and you're a black person, sometimes you might want to take a back and say, I want to see how this person is going to behave. But now, for example, we are in the same culture.
Yes.
We come from, the same kind of a thing. But when you look at me, you realize my way of behaving and my way of interacting with you is a little different from what the culture accepts. So at that particular point, you might want to say, I think this person is not fine. Then we also see some behaviors that are not, behaviors that are unbecoming. For example, when people have depressive illnesses, you find them, they are necessarily so sad, they easily tear up, or they easily flare up. You just talked about a small thing, maybe it was just a joke, and somebody begins to flare up, and somebody begins to shout and scream at somebody, and then you might think, oh my God, did it really warrant for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can tell for sure, I think there's a problem with this person.
Yeah.
There are many other things that we can look at in an individual.
Yeah.
For example, somebody might wake up and they begin to talk about things that don't make sense to us.
Yeah.
Or somebody wakes up, like I'll give you an example of one client that I was talking to a few days ago, and he came and told me he's very sad, and I asked him, why are you sad? He said, because I just feel sad. I don't know why I'm feeling sad. Then I asked him, give me your focus and let me know what you want to become in the next 5 years. And the guy says, I want to become the president of America in the next 5 years. And I'm like, wait a minute. Have you done on goal setting? He says, yes. Do you know what you're talking about when we say setting achievable goals?
Right.
And he says, yes, and I think it's achievable.
Yes.
But this is a client who is in a place where you're not even doing the
It's not very realistic.
Yeah. So at that particular point, you can actually point out and say, this person is not fine. Because even the kind of goals they're talking about, they're not achievable within that period of time. I'm not saying that this person cannot become the president of America.
Yeah.
But we are saying it is not achievable within that period of time they're talking about.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So how people respond to questions, that is something else that we can say. And this person is not fine. The other things we would see in the society, like for example, you meet with somebody and they begin to tell you things that don't make sense. I'll give you another example.
Yes.
One time, where I come from, I come from Kenya. The president then, the sitting president, who is the outgoing president right now, he went to Mathare Mental Hospital. And he greeted the guys that he found there and he told them, do you know who I am? And they said, yes, we know. And then, who am I? And then they said, wewe kaa hapa, wewe umechizi tu kama sisi. And then he said, I'm President Uhuru Kenyatta. And then another one laughed and said, usijali baba. Hata huyo akikuja, alisema tieni. Even when he was coming, he said he was the president of South Africa. You understand?
Yes.
According to this guy, he's actually consorting with the president because he actually thinks he's another sick one. But now that can tell this person is not fine. You understand?
Yes.
So how we respond to questions?
Yes.
And you actually can tell that this person is not fine. Okay. Now those could be the extremes.
Yes.
Those could be the extremes. And for sure those people need to be either in a psychiatric hospital or in a rehab center.
Yes.
But then you will also find me and you who are sitting in the office, sitting in the church together, singing and doing things together. But then as you keep talking to that person, you realize this person is not okay.
Yes.
For example, I have met you maybe the second, the third time.
Yes.
And I begin to talk about myself. And I tell you about my background. And how these people have been so bad to me. And how Kenyans are bad. And I keep talking negative about people. And you're wondering, don't you have anything positive you can talk about people?
Yeah.
I mean, already you can take that person as an issue.
Yeah.
It is not just, people who are just negative in life, or you find others, we sit here And all that I can tell you is about myself. Oh, my successes. You know, when I was growing up, you know, my father had this many number of cows. You know, I come from Central Kenya. In Central Kenya, so
for those who do not know, look it up.
We are not for business.
Yes, we
you
are.
know? And I can begin to tell you about how rich my dad is.
Yes.
And how rich my husband has been, and how rich and you're wondering, don't you have anything else we can talk about?
Yes.
Are you, you know?
Yeah.
So I look normal.
Yeah.
I am working on shoe leather. We are working in the office. But then you realize this person has more than being a normal person.
Being normal, yeah.
You also asked me, let me just mention it.
Yes.
When should we talk about it?
Yes.
Now, we should have talked about it yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Because mental health is such a big issue. And especially a season like this. I don't call it post-COVID.
Yes.
Because COVID is still with us. But maybe we have gotten to a level where we have now accepted COVID and it has become a normal disease like any other.
Yes.
But you realize that during the COVID season, a lot changed.
Yes.
A lot changed. There was a lot of deaths, there were a lot of losses, and many other things.
I want to just add on to what you said, or actually go into a different level slightly. So we've basically majored it on health. Health-wise, could it be circumstantial? Could mental wellness be circumstantial? For example, hypothetical speaking, new job, loss of job, family changes. Could that bring a mental discord or change in a person?
Definitely, that's true. Because anytime we are going to a new place, we are in a new job, you're interacting with people differently, or maybe new people or new places, you definitely find somebody is a little anxious. And that is why I say health is not necessarily the absence of disease.
Yes.
So the fact that today you didn't have a good morning doesn't mean that you are mentally unhealthy.
Correct.
The fact that you look stressed about a thing doesn't mean that you are unhealthy. Yeah, so circumstances sometimes will cause us to behave in a certain way.
That was Let's Chat with your girl, ASR, with your girl, Sherrie Bunnie. Next time, join us and you'll hear more. Thank you. Have a great day.